Dae-ho Kim floated through the cold corridor of the alien ship, his helmet light cutting through the darkness. The beam caught floating debris and dust particles that drifted past like tiny stars. His breath echoed inside his suit, steady and calm despite the eerie silence around him. Dae-ho, you seeing anything useful in there? The voice of Captain Tae-yang crackled through his communicator. Not yet, Captain. The ship looks abandoned. Everything's dead. No power, no life support. Dae-ho pushed forward, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor with each step. The walls were covered in strange symbols he couldn't read. This was definitely a Velrathi vessel, one of their cargo ships by the look of it. Well, make it quick. That reactor signature is getting weaker. The whole thing might blow. Understood. Dae-ho moved deeper into the ship. Something felt wrong here. The Velrathi were careful people. They didn't just abandon their ships. They were too proud for that, too organized. Yet this vessel had been drifting in space with no distress signal, no crew, nothing. He passed through a doorway that had been forced open. The metal was bent outward as if something very strong had pushed through it. Long scratches marked the walls, deep gouges that looked like claw marks. Dae-ho felt a chill run down his spine. What could do that to reinforced alien metal? The corridor opened into a large cargo hold. His light swept across the empty space, revealing scattered containers and equipment. Then he heard it. A soft sound, barely audible. A whimper. Dae-ho froze. Hello, is someone there? The sound came again, weak and pitiful. He moved toward it, stepping carefully around the debris. His light found the source, and he stopped breathing for a moment. Chained to a thick metal post in the center of the hold was a creature unlike anything Dae-ho had ever seen. It was roughly the size of a large wolf, but it had 6 legs instead of 4. Its fur was a deep purple color, and patches of it seemed to glow with a faint blue light, though the glow was weak and flickering. The creature's head hung low, and it didn't move as he approached. Around its neck was a heavy collar that sparked occasionally with blue electricity. The chain attached to it was short, barely allowing the creature to move. Dae-ho could see dried blood on its fur and the floor beneath it. The poor thing looked half dead. Captain, you're not going to believe this, Dae-ho said quietly. What did you find? Some kind of animal. It's chained up down here. Looks like they left it to die. There was a pause. Dae-ho, we're not running a rescue service. Get what we came for and get out. Captain, I can't just leave it here. Yes, you can. That's an order. Dae-ho looked at the creature. As if sensing his presence, it slowly lifted its head. Its eyes opened, and Dae-ho gasped. The eyes were large and intelligent, a deep golden color that seemed to glow in the darkness. They looked at him with such sadness and hope that it made his chest hurt. I'm getting it out, Captain. Give me 5 minutes. Dae-ho. He switched off his communicator and approached the creature slowly. Easy there, he said softly, even though he knew it probably couldn't understand him. I'm going to help you. The creature watched him but didn't move. It was too weak to be afraid, Dae-ho realized. He pulled out his multi-tool and examined the collar. It was designed to cause pain. He could see that immediately. The metal spikes on the inside pressed against the creature's skin, and the electrical current kept it from struggling. Anger flared in his chest. What kind of beings would do this? This is going to hurt for a second, but then you'll be free, he said. He found the locking mechanism and forced it open with his tool. The collar sparked violently, and the creature let out a small cry. Then it fell away, clattering to the floor. The chain was easier. He cut through it with his plasma cutter, and suddenly the creature was free. It collapsed onto its side, too weak to stand. The glowing patches on its fur pulsed once, then dimmed even more. Dae-ho didn't hesitate. He scooped the creature up in his arms, surprised by how light it was. It should have weighed more, but starvation had left it thin and frail. The creature made no sound, but it pressed its head against his chest. Come on, let's get you out of here, he said. He carried the creature back through the corridors, moving as quickly as he dared. His communicator came back to life with angry shouting from the captain, but he ignored it. He had made his choice. As he reached the airlock where his shuttle was docked, the ship groaned around him. The lights flickered once, then died completely. His helmet display showed a warning. The reactor was failing faster than expected. Shuttle, open airlock emergency override, he shouted. The door hissed open and he jumped through, still cradling the creature. He fell into the shuttle bay and kicked the door controls. The airlock sealed behind him just as he heard an explosion somewhere deep in the alien ship. Go, 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 he yelled. The shuttle detached and shot away from the derelict vessel. Seconds later, the alien ship exploded in a ball of blue fire. Daeho shielded the creature with his body as the shuttle rocked from the shockwave. When everything settled, he carefully removed his helmet and looked down at the creature in his arms. It was breathing, shallow but steady. The glowing patches on its fur pulsed weakly and its eyes were closed. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I've got you." The shuttle docked with the starbound Hawk, and Daeho carried his rescue straight to the medical bay, ignoring the shocked stares of his crewmates. Captain Taeyang was waiting for him, arms crossed and face red with anger. "What were you thinking?" the captain demanded. "You could have been killed. And for what? An animal?" "Look at it, Captain," Daeho said, laying the creature gently on the medical bed. "Really look. This isn't just an animal. Look at its eyes. There's intelligence there." The captain stepped closer and peered at the creature. For a moment his anger faded, replaced by curiosity. The creature's eyes opened again, those golden orbs watching them both. "What is it?" the captain asked quietly. "I don't know. But someone chained it up and left it to die. That tells me it's important. And it tells me those Velrathi bastards are even worse than I thought." Minki, their medic, pushed past them. "Everyone out. Let me work." He began scanning the creature with his medical tools, his expression growing more surprised with each reading. Daeho stood by the window, watching as Minki worked. The creature never took its eyes off him, as if it knew he was the one who had saved it. Something passed between them in that moment. Something Daeho couldn't explain. It felt like a connection, a bond forming. "She's going to live," Minki announced an hour later. "She's severely malnourished and dehydrated, and she has some infections from those wounds, but she's strong. Her biology is incredible. She's already starting to heal." "She?" Daeho asked. "Yes, definitely female. And Daeho, her genetic structure is artificial. She's been engineered, created in a lab. This is someone's science project," the captain swore quietly. "That's all we need. Stolen alien property." But Daeho wasn't listening. He stepped closer to the medical bed and reached out slowly. The creature, the girl, watched his hand approach. Then, gently, she pressed her head against his palm. The glowing patches on her fur suddenly brightened, pulsing with a soft blue light. Daeho felt warmth spread through his hand and up his arm. It wasn't painful, just warm and somehow comforting. "Well," said Bora from the doorway, the navigator's voice dry with sarcasm. "Looks like you've made a friend. Hope you're ready for the consequences." Daeho didn't care about consequences. All he knew was that he had saved a life today, and that life was depending on him now. He stroked the creature's head gently, and she made a soft sound, almost like a purr. "What should we call her?" Minki asked. Daeho thought for a moment, looking at the creature's glowing patches. They reminded him of flowers blooming in the dark. "Hana," he said. "We'll call her Hana." The creature's tail moved slightly, just once, almost like she approved. 3 weeks had passed since Daeho rescued Hana from the derelict ship. In that time, the creature had transformed from a near-death victim into a healthy, vibrant being. Her fur now shone with deep purple colors, and the bioluminescent patches glowed steady and bright. She had gained weight, and her 6 legs carried her gracefully through the corridors of the starbound Hawk. But it was more than her physical recovery that amazed the crew. Hana was smart, very smart. Daeho first noticed it on the 3rd day. He had been working on repairing a damaged circuit panel in the engine room. Hana sat nearby, watching him with those golden eyes. When he dropped a tool and it rolled under the machinery, he sighed and started to crawl after it. Before he could move, Hana had already retrieved it with her mouth and brought it to him. "Good girl," he had said, thinking it was just luck, but then she did it again. And again. She knew what he needed before he asked for it. By the 2nd week, Hana had learned to open doors by pressing the control panels with her paw. She understood the ship's layout perfectly and could find any crew member within minutes. When Daeho said her name, she came immediately. When he pointed at something, she looked at it. She even learned to play a game where he hid treats around the engine room and she found them. The crew's attitude had shifted. Minki was fascinated by her healing abilities and spent hours running tests. Taeyang, though still grumbling about the risk, admitted she was useful. She had alerted them to a cooling system leak before any alarms went off, possibly saving the ship. Only Bora remained distant. The navigator watched Hana with suspicious eyes and gave her a wide berth whenever they passed in the corridors. Daeho spent every free moment with Hana. She slept in his quarters now, curled up on a blanket at the foot of his bed. Sometimes he woke in the night to find her glowing patches pulsing gently, like a nightlight. It was comforting. One evening, as Daeho sat at his desk trying to identify what species Hana was, he felt something strange. A tingling sensation in the back of his mind, like someone was gently knocking on a door. He looked at Hana, who sat beside him, staring intently at his face. The sensation came again, stronger. Then suddenly he felt it, an emotion that wasn't his own. Contentment, happiness, safety. It was coming from Hana. "What the hell?" he whispered. Hana's tail wagged once. The feeling grew stronger, and now he could sense more. Curiosity. She was curious about what he was doing. She wanted to understand. Daeho's hands shook as he pulled up the Galactic database. He searched for artificial life forms, genetic experiments, Velrathi projects. Hours passed as he dug deeper and deeper into restricted files, using every access code he had accumulated over years of salvage work. Finally, he found it. A classified file from 30 years ago, the Valkyr project. His blood ran cold as he read. The Velrathi Empire had created a new species called Valkyrs. They were designed as empathic weapons, creatures that could bond with a handler and sense emotions, intentions, even predict enemy movements. They were engineered to be loyal, intelligent, and deadly when needed. The project had created hundreds of Valkyrs. They were used in the border wars, in security operations, in espionage, but then something went wrong. The Valkyrs began showing too much independence. They formed bonds with each other, not just their handlers. Some refused orders. A few even helped prisoners escape. The Velrathi government panicked. They declared the project a failure and ordered all Valkyrs to be terminated. Every single one. The official record stated that the extermination was completed 28 years ago. But Hana was here, alive, which meant someone had hidden her, or she had escaped. And now she was bonded to him. Daeho looked at Hana, seeing her in a new light. She wasn't just an animal. She was a person in her own way. A person who had been created to serve and then marked for death simply for wanting freedom. "They tried to kill you all," he said softly. "Your whole species, because you wouldn't be slaves." Hana pressed her head against his leg. The emotion he felt from her was sadness, deep and old. She understood what he had learned. She had always known. The next morning, Daeho called a crew meeting. He explained everything he had discovered. The room fell silent as he finished. "So we're harboring a fugitive," Bora said flatly. "There's probably a bounty on her." "She's not an it or a thing," Daeho snapped. "She's alive. She thinks and feels. The Velrathi committed genocide and somehow Hana survived." "And if they find out we have her?" Taeyang asked. "They'll try to take her." "Let them try," Minky said quietly. Everyone turned to look at the medic in surprise. He rarely spoke up in crew discussions. "I've spent weeks studying her biology. The things the Velrathi did to create her species are crimes against nature. They made intelligent beings and treated them as property. I won't be part of that." Taeyang rubbed his face. "This is bigger than us. We're salvage operators, not freedom fighters." Before anyone could respond, Hana suddenly stood up. Her bioluminescent patches turned from blue to red. She stared at the door, a low growl rumbling in her chest. "What's wrong with her?" Bora asked. Daeho felt it through their connection. Danger. Something was coming. Something bad. "Captain, scan for other ships," he said urgently. "Now." Taeyang rushed to the bridge with Bora right behind him. Seconds later, his voice came over the intercom. "We've got company. Velrathi patrol vessel just dropped out of FTL 2 kilometers away." Daeho's heart sank. "They're here for her." The comm system crackled to life. A cold, precise voice spoke in perfect English. "Human vessel, Starbound Hawk. This is Velrathi patrol ship Retribution. We are searching for stolen biological property. Prepare to be boarded for inspection." "Play it cool," Taeyang said over the ship's intercom. "Everyone act normal. Daeho, hide her now." Daeho grabbed Hana and ran to the engine room. There was a shielded compartment they used for storing sensitive equipment, protected from scans. He opened it quickly. "In here, girl."
"Stay quiet."
"I'll come back for you, I promise." Hana looked at him with those golden eyes. Through their bond, he felt her fear, but also trust. She trusted him completely. She climbed into the compartment and he sealed it shut just as the ship shuddered from a docking clamp. The Velrathi boarding party consisted of 4 soldiers in sleek armor. Their leader was tall and thin, with pale skin and large dark eyes. He looked at the human crew with barely concealed disgust. "I am Inspector Velcon. We will search your vessel. Do not interfere." "What exactly are you looking for?" Tai Yang asked, keeping his voice steady. "That is not your concern." The Velrathi spread out through the ship, scanning everything with handheld devices. Deho stood in the engine room, trying to look casual as one soldier swept the area. The shielded compartment should hide Hana's biosignature, but he wasn't sure. The soldier paused near the compartment. Deho held his breath. Then, through his bond with Hana, he felt something. A warning, clear as words in his mind. They planned to take ship. Lie about finding nothing. Take ship anyway. "You all in danger." Deho's eyes widened. Hana was communicating with him. Actually communicating, not just emotions. She could sense the Velrathi's intentions through the walls. He had to warn the captain. Deho moved casually to the intercom panel and pressed it. "Captain, that coolant leak is acting up again. Might want to check the containment readings. Could blow if we're not careful." There was a pause. Taeyang was smart enough to know Deho was sending a coded message. "How bad is it?" "Real bad. Might need to evacuate the ship if it gets worse." "Understood." The Velrathi soldier turned to him. "What leak?" "Oh, nothing to worry about," Deho said, pulling up a diagnostic panel and making the readings look critical. "Just a minor reactor coolant issue. Happens all the time in human ships. We use older technology, you know." The soldier looked at the readings and his eyes widened. "Inspector, they have a reactor instability." Velcon came to the engine room and examined the panel. Deho had made it look like the containment field was failing, which in a ship this size would cause an explosion big enough to destroy everything within a kilometer. "This ship is a hazard," Velcon said coldly. "We are leaving. If we discover you are harboring illegal property, we will return with a full battlecruiser." He turned to his soldiers. "Move out." The Velrathi boarded their ship and detached. Within minutes they had jumped to FTL and were gone. Deho nearly collapsed with relief. He opened the compartment and Hana bounded out, her patches glowing bright blue again. She jumped up, putting her front paws on his chest, and he hugged her tightly. "You saved us," he whispered. "You knew what they were planning." Through their bond he felt her response. Not words exactly, but meaning. "Pack, you are Pack. Protect Pack." The crew gathered in the common room an hour later. Everyone looked shaken. "We can't stay in this sector," Taeyang said. "They'll be back, and next time they won't fall for tricks." "There's somewhere we can go," Bora said quietly. Everyone looked at her in surprise. "A place called Sanctuary Station. It's on the edge of charted space. They don't ask questions there, and the major powers leave it alone. It's for people like us. People carrying things they shouldn't." "How do you know about it?" Minki asked. "I've been there before. Long time ago." Bora looked at Hana. "I didn't trust you at first. Thought you'd bring us nothing but trouble. I was right about the trouble part." The journey to Sanctuary Station took 2 weeks through uncharted space. During that time, Deho worked closely with Hana, learning to use their empathic connection. What had started as vague feelings had grown into something more. She could now project simple images into his mind, and he was learning to send thoughts back to her. One evening, as he sat with her in his quarters, Hana suddenly pressed her head against his chest. The connection opened wider than ever before, and Deho gasped as images flooded his mind. He saw through Hana's memories. A cold laboratory with bright lights, other Valkyrs in cages, their bioluminescent patches glowing in fear. Scientists in white suits performing tests, injections, surgeries, pain, so much pain. Then he saw the termination order, soldiers coming into the facility. The screaming of Valkyrs as they were killed one by one, Hana running, hiding in a ventilation shaft, escaping onto a cargo ship where she hid for months, scavenging scraps of food. Finally, he saw her capture. Velrathi crew members finding her, chaining her in the cargo hold, the collar that sent pain through her body every time she moved. Days or weeks of darkness and hunger, until finally the crew abandoned ship in a panic about something else entirely, leaving her to die. When the vision ended, Deho had tears streaming down his face. He held Hana close and she let out a soft whine. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry for what they did to you. But you're safe now. I swear it." Minki confirmed what Deho already knew through their bond. Hana was pregnant. The medic was baffled because all records showed that Valkyrs had been sterilized. Somehow Hana was one of the rare females who could still reproduce. "This changes everything," Minky said as he ran his scanners over Hana's belly. "If she has pups, that means the species can continue. She might be the most important Valkyr alive, which makes her even more valuable to anyone hunting her," Bo-Ra added grimly. The navigator had grown close to Hana over the journey. She spent hours each day with the Valkyr, teaching her to understand star maps and navigation displays. Hana proved to be a quick learner, and she seemed to enjoy the mental challenges. "She's smarter than most people I've met," Bo-Ra said one day. "If she could talk, I bet she'd have better ideas about navigation than I do." Kepler 442 appeared on their view screen like a jewel in the darkness. The planet had purple skies caused by its unique atmosphere, and its forests glowed with bioluminescent plants even during the day. 2 moons orbited the world, casting strange shadows across its surface. Sanctuary Station sat on the edge of a vast ocean. It wasn't really a station in the traditional sense. It was a collection of buildings and landing platforms built from salvaged ship parts, connected by bridges and walkways. Hundreds of different species lived there, all of them refugees or outcasts from the major galactic powers. As the starbound Hawk descended toward a landing platform, Deho noticed the variety of ships docked there. Human vessels, Velrathi cargo haulers, Krix mining ships, and dozens of designs he didn't recognize. This was truly a place where everyone was welcome. A woman was waiting for them at the landing pad. She was human, probably in her 60s, with gray hair and kind eyes. She wore practical clothes and carried herself with the confidence of someone who had seen everything. "Welcome to Sanctuary," she said as the crew disembarked. "I'm Ji Woo-song, I run this place. And you must be the crew that Bo-Ra told me about." Her eyes found Hana, who stood close to Deho's side. "And you must be the reason you're here." "You know what she is?" Deho asked. "I know a Valkyr when I see one. I was a diplomat for Earth during the border wars. I saw them used as weapons. I also saw them show mercy when their handlers ordered them to kill." Ji-Woo knelt down slowly and held out her hand. "Hello, beautiful one. You're safe here." Hana approached cautiously, sniffing Ji-Woo's hand. Through their bond, Deho felt Hana's assessment. This human was good. This human could be trusted. Hana gently pressed her head against Ji-Woo's palm. "She's pregnant," Ji-Woo said quietly. "It wasn't a question, how did you know?" Female Valkyrs glow brighter when they're carrying pups. "It's one of the few things I remember from the briefings we got." Ji-Woo stood up. "This is bigger than you realize. If she has pups and they survive, it means the species isn't extinct. The Velrathi will do anything to prevent that." "We know," Taeyang said. "That's why we're here." Ji-Woo nodded. "Come, let me show you around. You'll be safe here, but you need to understand what that means." Sanctuary Station was home to about 5,000 beings. Ji-Woo had founded it 20 years ago after leaving the diplomatic service. She had seen too many refugees turned away, too many victims of galactic politics with nowhere to go. "We have 3 rules here," she explained as they walked through the market district. "First, no violence between residents. Settle disputes with words or leave. Second, what you did before coming here doesn't matter. Everyone gets a fresh start. Third, we protect our own. If someone threatens Sanctuary, everyone fights." The market was bustling with activity. Deho saw humans trading with alien species he had only read about. Children of different species played together in the streets. An old Velrathi merchant sold spices next to a human baker. Hana drew stares as they walked, but no one seemed hostile. Instead, people watched with curiosity and wonder. Several residents approached Ji-Woo and whispered questions. She answered quietly, and they nodded before moving on. "Word spreads fast here," Ji-Woo said. "By tonight, everyone will know a Valkyr is in Sanctuary. Most will be glad. Some will be scared. A few might see an opportunity." "Bounty hunters?" Bo-Ra asked. "We get them sometimes. They usually leave when they realize the whole station will turn against them. But yes, you need to be careful." Ji-Woo stopped at a large building made from an old cargo hauler. "This is my home. You're welcome to stay here until you find your own place." That evening, as purple twilight fell over the ocean, Deho sat on the roof of Ji-Woo's building with Hana. The 2 moons were rising, casting silver light across the water. Hana's bioluminescent patches glowed softly, and through their bond he felt her contentment. "Do you like it here?" he asked her. Images formed in his mind. Safety, peace, home. Yes, she liked it here. "We'll make a good life for you and your pups," he promised. Somehow we'll make this work. 3 days later, the first bounty hunter arrived. Daeho was in the market with Hana when he felt her sudden spike of fear through their bond. He looked where she was staring and saw a figure in dark armor standing at the edge of the crowd. The armor was Velrathi design but modified. Covered in weapons and scanning equipment, the figure's helmet turned toward them, and Daeho knew they had been spotted. "Run," he said to Hana. "Find Jiwoo, now." Hana hesitated, not wanting to leave him, but he pushed urgency through their bond. She turned and ran, her 6 legs carrying her swiftly through the crowd. The bounty hunter started to follow, but Daeho stepped into his path. "You don't want to do this," Daeho said. The bounty hunter's helmet speakers crackled. "Human, step aside. That creature is worth 50,000 credits. I'm taking it. Her. She's a her. And you're not taking anyone." The crowd had stopped moving. People were watching now, forming a loose circle around them. Daeho saw Bora and Minki pushing through the crowd from different directions. "This doesn't concern you people," the bounty hunter said, his hand moving to his weapon. "Sanctuary law says no violence between residents." "I'm not a resident, and that thing isn't a person." "Wrong on both counts." Jiwoo's voice cut through the tension. She walked calmly into the circle, Hana at her side. "First, Hana is a resident of Sanctuary as of 3 days ago. Second, she is a person under the laws we recognize here. And third, if you draw that weapon, every person in this market will tear you apart." The bounty hunter looked around. The crowd had grown larger and every face looked hostile. Humans, Velrathi, Krix, and a dozen other species all stood united against him. "You can't protect it forever," the bounty hunter said. "More will come. Stronger ones. You're just delaying the inevitable. Then we'll deal with them too," Jiwoo said calmly. "Now leave. You have 1 hour to be off this planet, or we'll consider you a threat to our community." The bounty hunter stared at her for a long moment, then turned and walked away. The crowd parted to let him through, then closed again, forming a protective wall around Hana. That night, Jiwoo gathered the crew in her home. He was right about one thing. More will come. Word is spreading fast that a Valkyr is here. The bounty is probably already increasing, so what do? Daeho asked. "We can't fight off every hunter in the galaxy." "No, but we can give them a reason to stop hunting." Jiwoo pulled up a holographic display. "There's a legend. Probably just a story, but maybe not. They say when the Velrathi ordered the termination of the Valkyrs, a group of them escaped. Dozens, maybe hundreds. They fled into the Void Nebula and were never seen again." "The Void Nebula is a death trap," Bora said. "Ion storms, spatial anomalies. Ships that go in don't come out." "Exactly, which makes it the perfect hiding place. If the legend is true, if there's a colony of Valkyrs out there, then Hana isn't the last of her kind. And if we could find them, prove they exist, it would change everything." Daeho looked at Hana. Through their bond, he felt a surge of emotion from her. Hope, excitement, and something else. The shuttle was small but well-equipped. Jiwoo had given them the best supply Sanctuary could offer, including upgraded shields and enough food for a month. Daeho piloted the craft while Bora handled navigation. Minki sat in the back with Hana, monitoring her health as her pregnancy progressed. The Void Nebula appeared on their view screen like a wall of purple and blue clouds, shot through with lightning. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Bora's instruments went crazy as they approached, showing readings that made no sense. "Spatial distortions everywhere," Bora muttered. "Gravity wells that shouldn't exist. If we go in there, we might never find our way out." Daeho looked at Hana. "Can you feel where we need to go?" Hana stood up and moved to the front of the shuttle. She stared at the nebula, her golden eyes tracking something invisible. Then she pressed her head against Daeho's hand, and suddenly he felt it too. A pull like a rope gently tugging him in a specific direction. "That way," he said, adjusting their course. "She knows the path." They entered the nebula, and immediately everything went dark. The clouds were so thick that even their strongest lights barely penetrated a few meters. Lightning crackled around them, making their shields flare with each strike. Bora called out warnings constantly. Gravity well ahead, adjusting course. Ion storm to port, compensating. Something metallic dead ahead. The metallic object turned out to be a wrecked ship, torn in half and drifting. They passed dozens more as they went deeper. The nebula was a graveyard of vessels that had tried to navigate its dangers. For 3 days they traveled, following Hana's instincts. She never wavered, always knowing which direction to go. Daeho had to trust their bond completely, flying blind through the chaos based solely on her guidance. On the fourth day, disaster struck. The attack came without warning. One moment they were navigating through a calm patch of space, and the next moment, weapons fire tore through the nebula clouds. Their shields absorbed the first hits, but the second volley damaged their engines. "Someone's shooting at us," Minky yelled unnecessarily. A sleek black ship emerged from the clouds, weapons glowing. Daeho recognized the design immediately. It was a hunter's vessel built for speed and firepower. "How did they find us?" Bora demanded, trying to return fire with their limited weapons. Through his bond with Hana, Daeho felt her rage and recognition. She knew this ship. This hunter. The comm system crackled to life. "Human vessel, you have something that belongs to me. Surrender the Valkyr and I'll let you live." "Never heard that before," Daeho muttered, throwing the shuttle into evasive maneuvers. "My name is Hyun-Soo Kang. I am the best hunter in 3 sectors. I've killed 5 Valkyrs before, and I'll add that one to my collection. Your shields are failing. Your engines are damaged. You have nowhere to run." Daeho looked at their status displays. Kang was right. They were dead in space, and their weapons were no match for his ship. "I have a better idea," he said into the comm. "How about you go straight to hell?" He cut the connection and turned to Bora. "Plot a crash course for the nearest solid gravity source, anything. A moon, an asteroid, I don't care." "Are you insane?" "Probably do it." Bora's fingers flew across her controls. "There's a moon 2 million kilometers from here. Uninhabited, mostly rock. We might survive the landing if we're lucky." "Good enough. Punch it." The shuttle's damaged engines screamed as they pushed them to maximum. Kang's ship followed, firing constantly. The shuttle shook with each hit, pieces of the hull tearing away. Warning alarms blared throughout the cabin. The moon appeared ahead, growing rapidly larger. Daeho aimed for a valley he could barely see through the smoke filling their cabin. They hit the atmosphere hard, the shuttle becoming a fireball as they descended. "Brace for impact," he shouted. They crashed into the rocky ground, skidding for what felt like forever before finally coming to rest against a cliff face. Daeho's head hit the console and everything went blurry for a moment. "Everyone alive?" he groaned. "Define alive," Bora said, clutching her arm. Blood dripped from a cut on her shoulder. Minky was already moving, checking Hana first and then coming to treat Bora. "Hana's okay. The pups are okay. Bora's got a broken arm, but I can fix it." "Great, because we've got company." Daeho pointed at the view screen, which still worked despite everything. Kang's ship was landing a kilometer away. They grabbed what supplies they could carry and abandoned the shuttle. Daeho had his plasma cutter tool. Bora carried a small pistol with her good hand. Minky had his medical kit. Hana limped slightly from the crash but refused to slow down. The moon's surface was barren and cold. Strange rock formations rose from the ground like twisted fingers. The nebula filled the sky above, casting everything in an eerie purple light. "We need to find shelter," Daeho said. "Somewhere to make a stand." Through his bond with Hana, he felt something. She was pulling him in a specific direction, toward a large rock formation in the distance. "Trust," she communicated. "Follow," they ran or tried to. Bora was in pain and Hana was pregnant. Their progress was slow. Behind them, they could hear Kang's footsteps and the footsteps of others. He had brought a team. The rock formation turned out to be the entrance to a valley. Narrow walls rose on either side, and the path twisted and turned deeper into the mountains. Hana led them confidently as if she knew exactly where she was going. "How does she know this place?" Minky gasped as they ran. "I don't know, but I trust her." The valley opened into a hidden canyon, and there, spread out before them, was something impossible. Buildings, not human or Velrathi, but clearly artificial. They were made of stone and metal, designed to blend with the natural rock. And everywhere, glowing in the dim light, were bioluminescent patches. Valkyrs. Dozens of them. They emerged from buildings and caves, staring at the newcomers. Young ones, old ones, all sizes and colors. Some had 4 legs, others 6 or 8. Their patches glowed in different colors, creating a rainbow of light in the darkness. An old Valkyr approached, larger than the others, her fur white with age, but her eyes still bright and intelligent. She looked at Hana, and something passed between them. Recognition. Hana let out a sound, something between a bark and a song. The old Valkyr responded in kind. They touched heads, and both their patches glowed blindingly bright. "They're communicating," Minky whispered in awe. The old Valkyr turned to the humans and projected an emotion so strong they all felt it. Welcome, safety, family. We found it, Bora said, wonder in her voice. The colony is real, but there was no time to celebrate. Weapon fire struck the canyon wall above them. Hyunsu Kang stood at the canyon entrance with 5 armed soldiers. So the legend was true, Kang called out. Even better. I'll be rich beyond my wildest dreams when I turn in an entire colony. The Valkyrs growled, a sound that made the ground vibrate. The old Valkyr stepped forward and projected something at Kang. Daeho felt it through his bond with Hana. A command: leave, or die. Kang laughed. I'm not afraid of animals, no matter how many there are. He raised his weapon. Kill them all. What happened next was something Daeho would never forget. The Valkyrs moved as one, coordinated perfectly through their empathic links. Some ran along the canyon walls using their multiple legs to climb impossible surfaces. Others charged straight ahead, dodging weapons fire with inhuman grace. Daeho grabbed a rock and threw it at one of the soldiers, hitting him in the helmet. Bora, even with one arm, managed to fire her pistol, taking down another. Minky pulled Bora to cover and started patching her arm properly. Hana joined the other Valkyrs in the fight. Despite being pregnant, she moved with deadly precision. She jumped onto a soldier, knocking his weapon away, then moved to the next. Her bioluminescent patches had turned blood red, and through their bond, Daeho felt her protective rage. These humans had saved her. This was her new pack. She would defend them. The old Valkyr faced Kang directly. The hunter was skilled, dodging her attacks and landing hits with his energy blade. But he was alone now, his soldiers defeated. And he was tiring. Finally, the old Valkyr caught his blade arm in her jaws and twisted. Kang screamed and dropped the weapon. He fell to his knees, expecting death. But the old Valkyr didn't kill him. Instead, she released him and stepped back. Through the empathic field she was projecting, everyone felt what she was communicating. Mercy. Valkyrs were not monsters. They could choose to spare their enemies. Take your ship and leave, Daeho said to Kang. Tell everyone what you found here. Tell them the Valkyrs are not extinct, and they are not your property. Tell them we have proof of what the Velrathi did, and we're not afraid to share it. Kang looked around at the dozens of Valkyrs surrounding him, their patches glowing in different colors. He looked at his defeated soldiers. Then he looked at the old Valkyr who had spared him. They'll come with an army, he said quietly. This place won't be secret anymore. Then we'll be ready. Daeho helped Kang to his feet. Now go, and think about what side of history you want to be on. Kang and his surviving soldiers limped back to their ship. Within minutes, they had lifted off and disappeared into the nebula. As the adrenaline faded, Daeho collapsed to his knees. They had won. Against all odds, they had survived and found the colony. Hana pressed against him, and through their bond, he felt her overwhelming joy. The old Valkyr approached again. The journey from the hidden moon to Terra Nova took 5 weeks. They traveled in a small fleet, 3 repaired ships carrying Valkyrs and the human crew. Daeho piloted the lead ship with Hana at his side, her belly now heavy with pups that would arrive any day. Solara had chosen 20 Valkyrs to make the journey, young ones and old ones, each with their own story of survival. They had spent weeks gathering evidence from Kang's captured databanks and their own memories, which they could project as holographic recordings through special equipment Minky had rigged up. The evidence was damning. Video logs of experiments, orders for termination, records of Valkyrs being sold as property, and most powerful of all, the testimony of the survivors themselves. But the journey was not without danger. Twice they encountered Velrathi patrol ships. Both times the patrols tried to stop them. Both times Hana and the other Valkyrs sensed the attacks before they happened, giving them time to evade or defend themselves. Word of their mission spread across the galaxy. News stations picked up the story. A human engineer and a colony of supposedly extinct creatures heading to the Galactic Council to demand justice. Some called them heroes. Others called them troublemakers. The Velrathi government called them criminals. On the 3rd week of travel, Hana went into labor. Daeho had been sleeping when he felt the spike of pain through their bond. He jerked awake to find Hana pacing the cabin, her patches glowing bright red. Minky was already there, setting up his medical equipment. It's time, the medic said. Help me keep her calm. The next 6 hours were the longest of Daeho's life. He stayed by Hana's side, holding her head, sending comfort and encouragement through their bond. She was in pain, but she was also strong. Her species had been designed to survive. Finally, the first pup was born. It was tiny, about the size of a human hand, with soft purple fur and 6 small legs. Its bioluminescent patches glowed weakly, pulsing with new life. Hana immediately began cleaning it, and the pup made small squeaking sounds. 2 more pups followed. One was slightly larger, with darker fur. The third was the smallest, but it glowed the brightest. 3 healthy pups, the first Valkyrs born in freedom in over 30 years. Through their bond, Daeho felt Hana's overwhelming love and joy. And pride. She was showing her pups to him, wanting his approval. "They're perfect," he whispered, tears running down his face. "You did amazing, Hana. They're absolutely perfect." The news of the birth spread through the small fleet. The other Valkyrs could feel it through their empathic network, and they sang, creating a chorus of sounds that resonated through space. It was a song of hope, of new beginnings, of life continuing against all odds. Terra Nova appeared on their view screen like a blue and green jewel. The capital world of the Galactic Council, home to billions of beings from hundreds of species, the most important planet in charted space. Bora contacted the Council as they approached. "This is the civilian vessel Freedom's Call, requesting permission to present testimony before the full Council. We represent the Valkyr species and demand to be heard." There was a long pause. Then a bureaucratic voice responded. "Freedom's Call, your request is noted. However, the Council calendar is full for the next 6 months. You may file a formal petition and wait for review." "Negative," Bora said firmly. "We're not waiting 6 months. We have evidence of genocide, slavery, and crimes against sentience. We demand an emergency session, and we're broadcasting this conversation on all public channels. The galaxy is watching." Another pause. Then a different voice, older and more tired. "This is Counselor Chen of Earth. Your broadcast has caused quite a stir. The Council will see you tomorrow. Dock at Station 7. But I warn you, many Council members are not happy about this disruption." "We don't care if they're happy," Daeho cut in. "We care about justice." They docked at Station 7 to find a massive crowd waiting. News crews from every major network, protesters holding signs. Some signs supported the Valkyrs. Others called them dangerous creatures. Security personnel struggled to keep order. Ji-Woo was there, having traveled from Sanctuary to support them. "You've caused quite the commotion," she said with a smile. "The Velrathi delegation is furious. They're threatening to withdraw from the Council if you're allowed to testify." "Let them," Daeho said. "We're not backing down." That night they prepared their testimony. Solara would speak first through projected emotions that translators could interpret. Then specific Valkyrs would share their memories. Finally, they would present the data logs from Kang's ship and recordings of the experiments. Hana stayed in their quarters with her pups, too vulnerable to bring to the Council chambers. Through their bond, Daeho could feel her anxiety. She wanted to be there, to speak for her species, but her pups needed her more. "I'll speak for you," he promised her. "I'll make them understand." The Galactic Council chamber was massive, a circular room with seats for 200 delegates representing every major species and government. The public gallery above could hold thousands. Today it was packed. Daeho stood at the center podium with Solara beside him and 20 other Valkyrs arranged behind them. He looked up at the delegates and saw a mix of expressions: curiosity, skepticism, hostility. The Velrathi delegation glared at him with pure hatred. The Council speaker, an ancient being from a species Daeho didn't recognize, called the session to order. "This emergency session has been called to hear testimony regarding the Valkyr species. Engineer Daeho Kim of Earth will present the case. You may begin." Daeho took a deep breath. "Honored delegates, I stand before you today to speak for beings who cannot speak your languages. The Valkyrs were created by the Velrathi Empire 30 years ago as weapons, but they were not machines. They were living, thinking, feeling beings, and when they showed too much independence, when they refused to be slaves, the Velrathi government ordered their extermination. Every single one was to be killed." Murmurs ran through the chamber. The Velrathi delegate stood. "These are lies. The Valkyr project was terminated because the specimens were defective and dangerous. It was a mercy to destroy them." "Defective?" Daeho's voice rose with anger. "They were defective because they wanted freedom? They were dangerous because they showed mercy. Let me show you what really happened. Minky activated the holographic projectors. Images filled the air above the podium. Video logs from the termination facilities. Falkers in cages crying out in fear. Scientists discussing them as property. Soldiers carrying out execution orders. The chamber fell silent as the evidence played. Some delegates looked away. Others watched with growing horror. The videos went on for 20 minutes, showing crime after crime. When they ended, Solara stepped forward. She projected her emotions so strongly that every being in the chamber could feel them. Grief, pain, loss, but also strength, determination, hope. Through the translator devices, her feelings were converted to words. We are Valkyrs, we think, we feel, we love. We are people. Not weapons, not property. People. We ask for one thing: recognition, rights, freedom to exist. One by one, other Valkyrs stepped forward and shared their stories. A young male showed memories of watching his family killed. An old female shared the pain of years in captivity. A middle-aged male demonstrated his intelligence by solving complex math problems in his head, projected through holographic displays. The testimonies went on for hours. The chamber remained packed, no one leaving. The galaxy was watching this broadcast, and everyone knew this was a historic moment. Finally, it was Daeho's turn to speak again. I'm just an engineer. I'm not a politician or a diplomat. But I know right from wrong. 4 months ago, I found Hana chained in a derelict ship left to die. I could have walked away. It would have been safer, easier. But I couldn't leave her there. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Since then, I've learned what it means to know a Valkyr, to share thoughts and feelings with a being from another species. Hana is my friend. She saved my life multiple times. She's brave, intelligent, and kind. And 3 days ago, she gave birth to 3 pups, the first Valkyrs born in freedom in 30 years. Daeho looked directly at the Velrathi delegate. You tried to exterminate an entire species because they wouldn't be your slaves. You failed. They survived. And now they're here, demanding the rights that should have been theirs from the beginning. The only question is, will this council have the courage to do what's right? The Velrathi delegate stood again, his face twisted with rage. This is outrageous. The Valkyr project was legal under our laws. We have the right to control our own genetic creations. No one has the right to create sentient beings and then kill them when they become inconvenient. Jiwoo's voice rang out from the gallery. The council has condemned genocide before. This is no different. The council speaker called for order as arguments erupted throughout the chamber. Delegates shouted at each other. The Velrathi delegation walked out in protest. But the session continued. For 3 days, the council debated. Daeho and the others waited anxiously, unable to do anything but hope. Hana stayed with her pups, nursing them and teaching them to use their legs. Through their bond, Daeho felt her constant worry. On the 4th day, the council reached a decision. The chamber was even more packed than before. Daeho stood at the podium again, Solara beside him as the speaker prepared.